Our guest tonight is former WWE superstar and now Bellator MMA fighter Jake Hager. How you doing, man?
Awesome, my friend. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We are very proud to have you. Recently, you signed a multi-fight, multi-year contract with Bellator MMA. You will fight in the heavyweight division and are expected to make your debut in 2018. What went into your decision to sign with Bellator, and why did you feel MMA was the right career path right now for you?
Oh, man, great question. Well, I really like Bellator. I like them as a company and how they're run. It seems like the popular place for fighters to go to. It just seems like there's been a mass exodus from the UFC controlled contracts, and I really like that, especially coming from the WWE, to have a little more freedom and to feel a little more love as a talent. And then as far as why MMA, well, I was a pro wrestler for 10 years, but I've been an amateur wrestler for 25 years. So it's really who I am, and something that's been a part of me. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, wanting to do it. And gosh, man, combat sports is so popular right now. And it's really cool to see independent wrestling, and professional wrestling growing and being so cool. And then MMA is just exploding, tons of competition, so many good rosters, and like what these guys are doing in the cage, it's just phenomenal. Really fun to watch and an honor to train for and be a part of.
Well, as an All-American at the University of Oklahoma, you dominated collegiate wrestling. How will you use that experience to make the successful transition to MMA?
Well, most professional fighters have like an amateur career. I'm going to have to rely heavily on my amateur wrestling career as my amateur fighting career. I'm going to anticipate it's going to be a similar mindset, how to prepare, how to train, and how to go into a fight as it is a Division I collegiate wrestling match. So I'm going to rely a lot on that, especially with the technique. And just the experience I got from working at colleges like the University of Oklahoma, both in their football program and their wrestling program, some of the best in the country at strength and conditioning and preparing and peaking at the right times and taking care of your body. I think I really got my degree in that from there.
Mike Chiari, next question.
Well, signing with Bellator was a move that made a lot of waves, and it likely added even more value to your brand, both as a mixed martial artist and as a wrestler. So with that said, do you plan on dedicating your time solely to MMA, or do you have interest in potentially doing both MMA and wrestling, much like a guy like Bobby Lashley does currently?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pro wrestling and MMA are so hot right now. I definitely want to use one hand to help the other. Here at first, I will still be pro wrestling. I have a certain amount of days that I can't. That's in the contract with Bellator. But that's how I'm paying the bills right now, and it's nice. But I think what I'm really trying to do with this, it's a game changer, at least for my brand, to where I can cross over into something that hopefully that I'm good at. And have another career. And I think that other career, that other spotlight, what you accomplish there will only help you as a pro wrestler to become more popular. Of course, there's still a lot to go into getting over and whatnot. But I think this is such a unique opportunity, and it came around. I think stuff like this comes around once in a lifetime, and I really had to jump at it, and I'm glad I did.
Brandon Galvin, next question.
What has the transition to MMA been like for you coming from the pro wrestling business where you're trying to keep each other safe from serious injury?
Oh man, that's gonna be a big jump for me. Definitely, because we do care about each other on that side and work together to avoid any types of things, or like if we have to stay away from some moves one night because of a shoulder or whatnot. This thing is real. It's very serious, and I'm approaching it that way. And I'm a little shocked about how good my body is feeling right now. it just keeps getting better and better. Of course, I was sore as hell like back in March and April when I first started training full time again. So I'm confident that I'm going to be able to withstand some of the injuries and the other stuff. I'm 35 years old, so I'm going to have a lot more bumps and bruises, maybe the recovery time slower. I'm going to have to find ways to be creative in training to push myself, not to have to go to, not every practice has to be such a physical thing. I can find ways to push myself mentally and feel conditioned hard and like take care of the body and grow and kind of let it be ready instead of beat up when we get there.
Well, Bellator's heavyweight division is absolutely stacked with big names right now, including Bobby Lashley, as we mentioned before, Roy Nelson, Fedor Emelianenko, other guys who are just legends of the business. Who are you most excited to eventually square off against, and what are your ultimate goals with the company?
Man, they really do have some great names. Big Country has been on the scene, really making a name for himself. I just like, he's just kind of he has the different body type, but he can get in there and go, and he never gets tired. It seems like it's really cool to see Fedor being a part of this. I mean, he's like a household name when it comes to MMA. I've been really impressed with Matt Mitrione. He's a big guy, but he moves very well. Great footwork. King Mo, another guy who wrestled at Central Oklahoma and then went on to be an All-American for Oklahoma State, like a couple years ahead of me, or around the same time. So it's really exciting to be a part of it, and I think Bellator is doing a great job of marketing it and making it seem like a big fight feel. I mean, you add Chael Sonnen into anything, and it's going to kind of explode. So it's really cool. Very excited to see what Chael and guys like Ryan Bader can do in the Grand Prix, because they're giving up a lot of weight, but they're in it, so I'm sure they're ready. They know what the game plan is. Right now, I think before I have any fight, it's hard to say who my dream fight would be, or which one of those guys I'd like to face first. I know I'm ready to fight, so I'm more looking for a date. Give me a date, and the line starts here.
Mike Chiari, next question.
Transitioning to wrestling, for as long as WWE has existed, it's always kind of been infatuated with the American hero versus foreign heel gimmick. You versus Rusev is a prime example. Jinder Mahal's recent title run. So with that in mind, and the fact that you had gotten the We the People chant so over, why do you feel like WWE didn't do more to capitalize on that near the end of your run?
That's a good question. I'm very honored to be a part of that storyline. Definitely one of my best parts of my career, to be able to change from essentially a bad guy into a really hot baby face overnight is very hard to do. And so it just proves how special that group was and that storyline was. Zeb, Lana, Miro, they were all, a special dynamic came together there that it's hard to replicate. Excuse me. Why they didn't go further with it, I don't know. I think a little bit, Miro had just debuted, and they had, plans for him for WrestleMania, and so wanted to make that the focus. But I don't know why we couldn't have, parted ways like we did, at least on another pay-per-view, and then kept on going. Maybe they just didn't believe in me as a babyface, or think it was that over. But that's more of a question for them, I guess.
Brandon Gavin?
During your time with WWE, would you be paid more for wrestling in something like a ladder match or another gimmick match than you would a normal match? And if so, does it change if that happens on Raw or SmackDown versus the pay-per-view?
It's all kind of different now with the network. You definitely get paid more for like a ladder match, and pay-per-views were traditionally another increase in the price. They were considered special, payoff to a storyline or whatnot. Just think about it this way. Payoffs go up, like who you're wrestling against and what type of match it is and where it's at. So, like, if you got WrestleMania versus John Cena, you'll probably get paid the most that you could get paid, if that makes sense.
Mike Chiari?
When you first aligned yourself with Zeb Coulter in WWE and established the We the People gimmick, it was really the talk of the wrestling world and getting a lot of mainstream media attention. Given how the United States and the world have continued to evolve in the few years since then, do you feel like it maybe could have been an even bigger deal had it come into existence more recently, possibly even coinciding with Donald Trump's election as president?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I pitched an angle to Vince. Zeb was away, and I said, well, let's bring him back, and let's do a Donald Trump angle where we mimic everything what he does, whatever he says, whatever he tweets. It's essentially a storyline that would write itself, and he wanted to stay away from it. I thought, I went to him. I said, hey, Vince, how would you like to put Donald Trump in the White House? So maybe that wasn't the best pitch, but I thought it was really something special. And then, I wrote it up and I showed Zeb, and then he added his little stuff to it, and it could have really been explosive right now because there's so much anger towards his tweets, towards him, his behavior. It really, oh my gosh. I mean, that would be like electric heat. It would just be, I can't even imagine it. It would have been good. And just for the record, I pitched that in 2015. So it was like as soon as he announced he was running, I was like, oh gosh, please let me get on this.
That needs to be an indie gimmick now. That when you do independent wrestling dates, just please come out in a Trump 2020 shirt and just take it upon yourself. Zeb is working Impact, so he'll come out of it. He can work indie dates as well. So let's make that happen. Because if you do that on a show, it's gonna get some heat. It's for sure gonna get some heat.
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. I got all the moves. I got all the good moves.
Sad. Every time an opponent goes to slam you, you just shut them down immediately and just call them sad. Just say that's sad. That's sad. That's a sad slam.
Sad.
That's a sidewalk sad slam. That's what we're gonna do. Brandon,
gosh.
Write it down.
I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna start tweeting, and then it's gonna make the whole audience have to read my tweet in order to see what I'm saying. To
it's got to be on
the
big screen of whatever arena it is. The tweet needs to immediately appear on that.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, it's perfect.
You guys are gonna have to give royalties up.
No, it's all yours. It's all yours. We live in squalor anyway. We don't need to get out. Brandon Gowan, final question.
Well, everybody's going to have their opinions about WWE creatively, but from an employee perspective, what would you change about WWE or the wrestling business in general?
It's one of those things where each promotion is different and you have to create a culture about it. But it's, that promotion is someone's baby, and if it's not yours, you just, it's like if you want to change things, start your own promotion type deal. What would I change about the wrestling business in general or WWE?
Up to you.
Right now, like I said, it's very popular. It's kind of the golden age right now. I wouldn't change too much about it. I would secretly put all promoters together and make them want to work together, and put the little special sauce with that and some fairy dust, and create this awesome number two, because I think that's really what the fans want, is a number two to go up against them. And if that happens, there'll be changes up there with their programming.
Well, a huge thank you to our guest tonight, Jake Hager. Catch him stealing the show in Bellator MMA when he makes his much-anticipated debut next year. Tell the fans where they can support you on social media and anywhere else.
Well, first of all, follow my beautiful wife, Catalina Swagger, on Twitter, Instagram. She'll show some butt. I'm kidding. She's very funny and way more entertaining than I am. So check her out. And then Real Jack Swagger, Twitter, Instagram. And if you want any of that fire We the People merchandise, it's lfrlife.com.
You had brownie points going until you mentioned her ass, and then all bets are off now. I don't know if she likes it, if she doesn't like it, she's mad, she's happy. As someone who's married, I just assume you're just going to go get yelled at now. I'm not sure.
No, she's okay with butt. You know, if I would have said nip, then it would have been a fight.
This is, we're tearing the
Nobody listens to this anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
We're tearing the Swagger family apart right now, and that's okay. Well, another huge thank you to Jake Hager. Good luck moving forward, sir.
Thank you, guys. Hands up. Just remember that, okay?
We the people.